Alrighty, it just kicked over to 9:01, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're sending the recording out to everybody who registered, so if there are folks who can't make it, they'll be able to watch it later, and that will serve also as my notice to everybody that we are recording for the people who came in since I said that at the last time, and just so that we've got it on the recording that goes up so everybody will know. Welcome to the Data Analyst Certificate pop-up information session. I'm Dr. Greg Dixon, and I'm the Chief Learning Officer with Acorn Learning. This is also the class that I teach because this is my area of expertise and this is my baby, so to speak. This information session is going to be referring to the new version of this class. This is the fall 2025 update to the Data Analyst Certificate. For those of you who are familiar with Acorn Learning, we do use a continuing improvement process on all of our courses. And so we're integrating a lot of the feedback that we've gotten in the last year into this update and a lot of adaptations to the world of Head Start as things are moving along right now. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. What I'm going to do is give you a quick rundown of what the Data Analyst Certificate is, how it works. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat at any time. And there will also be a chance for question and answer at the end when I've gone through this. So I plan to take between 12 and 15 minutes to run through all the various pieces. And then the remainder of the half hour will be for any questions that any of you may have. So again, this is the fall 2025 update. So this is a new version of a class that we've been offering for several years now. And what is this class and how does this class fit into the wider world of education offerings? Well, first and foremost, the Data Analyst Certificate is built specifically for Head Start programs. One of the biggest challenges for people who work in the Head Start field is if you want to gain additional technical skills in things like Excel, you spend a lot of time working about corporate profits and factory inventories, things like that. So it can be challenging to translate those over. We're going to give you Head Start examples, sample data sets that are real Head Start data sets. So it's built for real Head Start programs. You do not need a technical background for this program. It is a Data Analyst Certificate for Head Start professionals. So we are focusing on the role of analyzing data in the Head Start space. So we are assuming that you've used Microsoft Excel, and maybe you've done some formulas like sum to total up things, but that's it. That's all the background you need coming in. There's support with one-on-one meetings with myself, the instructor, throughout the course and for a period of time after the course ends, as we expect you'll be implementing the projects you build in the course. So Head Start specific, no technical background needed, anything more than some familiarity with Excel, and you will have support as we go through the course. The idea of this course is to move from the data that you already have a lot of in your various systems to being able to derive insights from that data. This is a practical skills course, practical skills to make the most of what you've already got. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on jargon in this class. We're not going to make you buy any expensive software. You're going to be using stuff that most programs already have. While we do have Head Start jargon, because that's one of the important parts of the program, we have a limited amount of technical jargon, and we just use enough that if you do need to go seek things out on your own in the future, you at least know where to get rolling with that. The idea for a lot of Head Start programs of going into your ChildPlus, COPA, GoEngage, Learning Genie, Smart Teach, whichever systems you have, and getting the data out, it can be challenging because the reports are limited. Basically, all of your main systems were all originally built to comply with rules and to generate the PIR. So they're getting better, but the reports are still limited. There's a lot of siloed data. You still can't make one platform talk to the other very well without pulling the data out and doing a lot of manual work. Customization in some of these platforms is either limited, tricky, or expensive, and sometimes it's all three of those things. And so how do you as a program work around those limitations? Odds are you're doing a lot of this on your own. If you're evaluating trends across your PIR, attendance, health, child outcomes, any area you're looking at, and you're trying to build charts that effectively communicate your story, and you want to be able to respond confidently to questions from your leadership in your organization, and also to reviewers when they come out and are conducting the review. You're on your own for these things in a lot of ways. And this is partly because every program's a little different. The specifics of what you're looking for are going to be a little bit different than what another program might be. So building that into a large platform that's meant to be used by everybody, it's hard for the people who make those platforms to do. So it's up to you to do that. Well, when you do that, a lot of times you find yourself doing manual updates. And this is one of the challenge, because one of the biggest challenges people face is these can be very time consuming. We've had people come into the Data Analyst Certificate in the past, and they show us the monthly dashboard that they build all by hand data entry. And it takes an enormous amount of time, depending on how much else is going on. Sometimes there are errors that'll creep in because it is manual data entry and you have to do it very quickly. There's a lot of other things going on. And a lot of times you can automate these things. And so what we're going to really focus on in our Data Analyst Certificate program is how can we help with that? How can we move beyond all those things? The key to all the technical things that you learn to do in the class, all the work you do in Excel, is about refreshability. You will build refreshable Excel dashboards that update with one click. You build the template once, and you build it in a way where it will go grab new data when you have new data, and everything you've built automatically refreshes. This is one of the biggest time savers that you will find for any of these aggregates that people are putting together. Custom reports that you can use to monitor the outcomes that matter most to you. You have a question that's a little different than the questions that other people might have. Your program might have a specific area you're focused on. You might be part of a larger program. Custom reports you can use to really get at the questions you want to answer. And when we're talking about building custom reports here, again, it's refreshable. So you don't have to recreate that every time. One of the biggest things that we want is that everyone who goes through this program will come out confident in using Excel as a powerful visual data tool. It doesn't matter what your starting skill level is, we are going to help you become confident in using Excel in ways you didn't even know Excel could be used. The big things that a lot of people ask about is what is exactly involved? I'm busy, a million things are going on. The Head Start world faces a lot of challenges. So what is this like? And one of the biggest things that we got in asking about what can we improve is time. So the 2025 version of this course is a 5-week course. The 5-week course, there's 5 separate modules, and it's a hybrid format. So we have recorded content. You work on your own time and on your own schedule to watch a series of videos that talk about conceptual pieces and also detailed walkthroughs of what we call the practicum assignments, which is actually doing the things in Excel that you're trying to learn about. There are 2 Zoom classes a week. One of the big changes in our format for the 5-week course is that one of those Zoom classes is going to be talking about the concepts and how they apply in real world programs. And the other is going to be looking at the practicum assignments and talking about the specific things, any issues that come up for the learners in the class when they're using Excel, but also challenges that you may see with working with similar kinds of data and some of the things you want to think about. That's one of the things that people were asking about in the past, and we've brought that in now as part of the class structure. So one of these Zoom classes, conceptual, how do you build projects? How do you deal with data quality issues as part of a bigger workflow? But the other one then is focused on when you are building something like what you're building in the practicum this week, what kinds of challenges are you going to face? These are the sorts of things that are important. I also want to emphasize the live office hours. You have the ability to book appointments with me every week. A change in this new course is a lot of people who build these really cool projects and they go to implement them, end up having questions about it after the course has ended. So we are extending the office hours so that they continue after the course has ended for 2 months. So you have 8 weeks following the end of the course where you can still book appointments with me and basically ask questions about implementation and other things that have come up. I also want to say that the office hours are somewhat of a free-for-all. You can ask any questions you have about the work of data in the program. And we've even had like an executive director drop into office hours because there was a question that they had specifically that dealt with some technical issues that were a little challenging to answer. I'm pretty sure I actually gave the exact same answer that the student in the class gave, but it sounded different coming from me. The executive director liked it. So office hours are basically free for all time with myself to ask whatever questions you have about your programs, projects, the other things that you're working on, or if you're just struggling with having certain things you're trying to do in Excel. So what does this look like with some examples? Asynchronous course content. This is just a screenshot of a video. We use the Canvas learning management system, very robust, used by school districts around all over the country. And it's nice, it's straightforward. You're basically going to go in and watch a series of videos. They are there available to you 24/7. You can watch them however you want. Canvas has a phone and tablet app. You can watch them on your phone. You can watch them on your tablet. You can watch it on a computer. The idea is you can watch the videos and get that information completely on your own time. And the videos are going to talk about the non-technical parts of the course, about how to organize data, what's going on in a database like ChildPlus, what's happening in the back end, and why do some of the reports look funny, but also things like, why is it that sometimes numbers on one report aren't exactly the same as numbers on another? How all of that happens is discussed in videos like this. We're also going to talk about how to handle questions like, we really want to know about this thing that's going on in our program, but we actually, it turns out, don't collect the data. How do you handle that? And how do you work with your colleagues to help remedy those situations? The technical stuff is what a lot of people actually are worried about. This is a screenshot of one of the assignments that you do in this class. You build a pivot table and you build a pivot chart. We provide you with data sets, an attendance data set, a health event data set, and a data set with a fictional child outcomes tool. For copyright reasons, it has to be a fictional one. So you have the Greg child outcomes tool, and you learn to use those data sets using real simulated Head Start data to produce dashboards and pivot tables, pivot charts, like what you see here, with that data. The key is, from the very first week, all of these are designed to be refreshable. So you will learn how to have Excel in an Excel file, go get the data from another file that's an export from your systems, pull it into Excel, build all these charts. Then a month later, when you have new data, you download that data, put it in the right spot, click refresh, and all the new data updates. So what you see on the screen here is a simple pivot table and chart. The next example here is going to be a pivot table using conditional formatting. In this particular case, we're looking at the number of days from enrollment to a particular health event. In this case, the simulated data is designed partly to show how these kinds of systems work with conditional formatting. So you have things you wouldn't see in the real world, like lots and lots of days past the deadline for some of these, but it highlights the fact that you will learn how to make a table pop. If there's certain things you need to jump out, you can program the table so that those numbers will highlight. Everything can be regular, except for a couple things you want to pull out. You can learn how to do that using conditional formatting. You basically learn how to build heat maps in Excel. And you're going to learn how to take individual sheets in Excel, build a series of pivot tables and charts, and then combine those on a new sheet, and then add filters that will apply. So you can build dashboards that have filters using what are called slicers, and you can put all of that on one page. So one sheet that has whatever information you want. You will learn to do that in this class. And this is one of the big things for a lot of people is, again, all of this data is refreshable. So all those things you're doing manually, you learn how to make it so that you build the template once, and then throughout the year, every month, no more manual data entry. You're just updating the reports. And that's all done through what's called Power Query, if you're familiar with Excel. Now, this can be daunting because you may say, well, I'm just starting with Excel, so that seems like it's complicated. It's actually less complicated than you think once you know what to do. And to make sure you know what to do, we have two kinds of documentation. We have a video walkthrough. You are watching exactly the assignment you have been given get created in Excel step by step by step. To go along with that, we also have PDF documentation, which provides text and screenshots to show you all of the things related to what's happening in that same video walkthrough. The PDF documentation is completely downloadable. You download that. In fact, we tell everybody, download them all and keep them and share them with other people in your program who are doing similar work. The videos are available in the classroom for about 6 months after the end of the class. So you have access to the videos for a fairly extended period of time. So we show you how to do every single thing in a clear way. The other thing about this is we give you what are called data dictionaries. We tell you exactly what's in the sample data sets you're using in the class. So if you want to build the exact same export out of your existing system, whether it's ChildPlus, COPA, or GoEngage, you can do that so that you can build these class exercise templates with our sample data, but then you can build the export out of your program with your real data, and you can put your real data into these that you're building for the class. So there's a lot of different things that you will be able to do when you are finished. The things that you're going to learn to do: aggregate and transform data automatically. We're going to show you how to use Power Query to come in and say, I want to take an absence record that shows every single child on every single day for the whole program year, and I want to calculate the monthly absence rate and put that child into a cohort based on whether they are doing well, whether they are at risk of chronic absence, or whether they are chronically absent. You will learn how to program that. You will actually do that in the assignments. You'll learn how to do those kinds of things and have Excel give you then a table of how many children are chronically absent, what percentage of the children are chronically absent month by month. You can do it day by day, month by month, for the whole year. You can aggregate that out by site, by classroom. There's a whole series of things. You will learn how to do all of those things in Excel with Power Query. And most importantly, it's always refreshable, meaning you can build it 3 months in and then run all those reports again at 6 months, click the refresh button, and everything updates without having to rebuild it. You are going to learn how to merge data from multiple sources, again, using Power Query in Excel. Your attendance data with your child outcomes data. So do your children who are chronically absent perform less well than children who have strong attendance on whether or not they meet the expectations in Smart Teach for the teaching strategies gold? You're looking at who's meeting expectations, who's not. Does it vary by absence cohort? Or does it turn out that the kids who are chronically absent don't get it rated as much at all? Maybe they're missing ratings, things like that. All of that's possible. You're going to create pivot tables and charts you can refresh with new data, create dashboards using those pivot tables. One of the other pieces we have in here is some quick bits about communication. So quick discussion of the status of the projects, lightning talk presentations that summarize the project you're given so that you get comfortable talking about these projects as well. I've talked about office hours a lot, so I'll just put it in here again. You have office hours both during the course and for the 2 months following. One of the biggest things about this class is the big assignment that you have is you are taking some project you want to build for your program, and you're going to build a plan with implementation steps for doing this project in your program. We actually originally started with, oh, you'll do a project, but then it turns out a lot of things in the real world get in the way. And so a lot of times, in fact, the vast majority of times, it was difficult to complete the project. So we've switched in the new 2025 version to a project with implementation steps. And that works a lot more. That will work a lot more smoothly, we anticipate. And one of the biggest things then is you will come into the class with this project. You will give updates in the class about the project and then share your project with the class. So we're not just teaching you technical pieces. We're not just teaching you how to engage in terms of looking at workflows and evaluating where potential data quality questions come from and how to get cooperation and buy-in from people. We're also talking about how do you talk about data with non-data people, with data people, with a variety of stakeholders. If all of this sounds like a lot and you're saying, wow, that's heavy, I don't know if that's a good starting point for me, we do have an introduction to visualizing Head Start data in Excel, which is brand new. We've been doing it for several years now with partner programs on our consulting side, but we're opening it up to everybody. And there's a pop-up session on that on August 19th, which you can register for through the information on the Acorn Learning site, 9 a.m. to 9:30, just like this one. So If this all sounds cool for you, Acorn Learning website under certificates and credentials, you can sign up for this program. It is a great way to really engage and build a lot of neat, cool, readily applicable tools, get some good information about how to manage data projects well and how to talk to people about them. But the key here is it's going to make your life easier. There's a bunch of questions you have that you can't really answer with your systems right now. You've got data that doesn't talk across silos. You're going to learn how to solve those problems. Now, I always have a line that I use this in pretty much everything, which is it's a great place that gets you on the path. You're going to learn a ton of skills. You're going to have a fantastic foundation. The doors that it will open for what you can do in your program are going to be huge. And so you will have lots of development on these kinds of issues and projects and other things that the benefits will last you for years. And also these are readily transferable to any kind of a position where you want to learn how to visualize data and communicate about data more effectively. So thank you. It took a little bit longer than it did in my practice run. So I went 20 minutes instead of 15. Anyone who's been in my classes and other things know that that's not exactly the rarest thing possible. We do have everything pretty clearly wired in these classes down to the hours for the sessions. But I do want to leave time for any questions that anybody has. So at this point in time, I will open it up to any questions that anybody has. Feel free to either drop them in the chat or unmute. I will say, remember that we are recording this. Typically in our YouTube channel, we cut the video off at this point. So if you're watching this video saying, oh, I'm looking forward to the questions, and it ends, we do that so that the folks who are asking questions in this part of the class can do so without worrying about being on YouTube. So the recording will stop about now, but